Right, I want to come in. Come on. Okay, welcome everybody to the Stanley Town Council Finance and General Purposes Committee for tonight. We'll take our first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We've got apologies from Councillor Helen Clark, Councillor Timby, Councillor Bell, Councillor Binney, Councillor Clegg, Councillor Carl Marshall, and Councillors Mann, Christie, and Joyce Clark are not here.
Apologies from Councillor Mann. He had text results coming in. He's running late to navigate the work.
Do we have any declarations of interest for any items on the agenda? Item number 3 is procedural and appropriate announcements from the Chair. I'm not sure it's an announcement, but with the committee's permission, I'd like to move item number 10, which is the internal auditor's report, under item number 5, confirmation of minutes. So move it up 4 places on the agenda. So Gordon can do his report, and then he can get himself away home. Is everybody happy enough with that? Yeah, that's great. I don't have any other announcements. I'll pass over to Al.
Just the usual announcements, Chairman. Obviously, we're recording the meeting. Is anyone else recording the meeting? And could members please make sure their phones are off or set to silent? And just quickly, I don't know if you noticed in reception there was a little display that DCC have put in about the last phase of the Front Street works. If members haven't noticed that, in the reception there is a little display about the last bits of what they're doing up there for your consultation and opinions.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, public participation, as we don't have any public here. I don't think there will be any, but any public participation on it?
Nothing right.
Thank you. Move on to item number 5, confirmation of minutes. We are asked to approve as a correct record, and I'm asked to sign the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee held on the 13th of February 2019, not 18 as it says on the agenda. Okay. Does everybody...
Move those, Chair. They've been to the full council. We agreed in there, and I think they are.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, cheers.
Happy to agree those?
Yeah.
Right, so now we've got item 10, which is the internal audit report. So, Gordon Fletcher, the Council's internal auditors, he's come to present his latest reports. And they should be all in your pack under item 10. So everybody should have had the chance to read them beforehand, so we can ask Gordon any questions. So I'll just hand over to you, Gordon, if that's okay.
Thanks, Chair. There were 3 orders I carried out with this inspection. I'll go through them one by one, and I'll go into more detail where we have the action plan. The first order was the accounts payable system. And the objectives of this audit can be seen in paragraphs 3 and 4. The actual scope of the audit involved carrying out compliance and substantive tests on all the payments for September and October 2018. This is to ensure that the system is being properly followed and correct payments have been made and properly accounted for. The tests carried out covered all backs checked, direct debits and debit card payments. Summary of my work can be seen in paragraphs 8 to 11. From that, my review highlighted that there was no issues that I considered significant for inclusion within this report, and I was able to give this audit full assurance, and no action plan was required. I'll take that question.
So if anybody has any questions on on this part of the audit? Someone like to go on?
Thank you. The second audit was the payroll audit. Again, you can see the objectives and key risks of this audit in paragraphs 3 and 4. And the scope of this audit involved informing the action of the payroll preparation process of all employees' payroll record between October 2018 and December 2018. The summary of this work again can be seen in paragraphs 8 to 12. And on this one, my video highlighted one issue which I included in an action plan. If you turn to this action plan attached to it, I'll quickly go through this. Basically what I found was that the signs within our timesheets showed hours worked are completed by all monthly CFO staff, but they are not signed by the employee, which are signed by the employee, but not by a line manager. Obviously, we need to put this internal control in, and therefore, obviously, I've had discussions with the officer, and she confirms the hours worked and total hours by initial timesheets of the city board recommendation, and she's agreed to do this.
Okay, so the audit report is attachment J2 and the action plan is attachment J5 for that one. Does anybody want to ask any questions about that? Okay, David?
The signing in and signing out on the action plan, am I on the right one, J5?
Yeah.
In your experience, is there another way of doing this? Because we're actually looking at tonight with telephone systems and IT and everything like that. It would be not more secure if everybody got a card. We could have one as well. So when you come into the building, you swipe your card, you go in. When you go out, you swipe your card, and then it would go through automatically, and there couldn't be anything. Does that operate anywhere else?
It has operated in some places. They don't operate in any town councils I go to. They have operated in some of the district councils I've been to. And again, if you were implementing that system, again, you might have to have the internal controls around that and see that it's worked satisfactorily. But it has worked in other places, especially worked in a previous district council I worked at. So I would have some knowledge of that. If you decide to implement that system, that would maybe help you towards the controls around that.
Thanks, Gordon. Joanne?
Just to come back on that, it would be beneficial as well for the flexi policy that we're going to implement as well, because there's programs that you can get and it'll automatically update if you've got credits or anything to put in. So I know that they exist as well, so that would be helpful.
So this is mainly in respect of casual timesheets. Just so we're clear, this isn't about the permanent staff. The permanent staff work in a fixed shift pattern. These are casual staff doing casual, so they might only do 4 hours a month. Obviously, there is quite a high setup cost for a kind of electronic booking in and booking off system that would need to be factored in against the benefits.
All I'm saying is, if we're looking at IT systems and we're looking at telephones, it might be something we might want to consider. I'm not saying do it, I'm not saying definite, but let's have a look at it, because it might be helpful to get full assurance.
Anybody else got any queries or questions on this one? Okay, I've got a question in sorry. When are you planning to come back and check to make sure they are doing it?
I do have it earmarked in to do a follow-up audit, and I'm actually coming in the beginning of April, and I will have a look then to see if that's because it's been, I think federal audit was in February, so really it should have been introduced in March.
Okay, the next audit is attachment J3 and the action plan is attachment J4. That's what can you talk us through this one?
This audit involved the risk management arrangements within the council. Again, the objectives and key risks shown in the paragraphs 4 and 5 of the report. The scope scope of the audit for examining arrangements in place to ensure that all risks, strategic and operational to the council are identified and managed. Some of the work I carried out can be seen between paragraphs 8 to 12. In my review, in this highlighted one issue conclusion report, again is shown in an action plan attached. We turn to the action plan, I'll go through it. This refers to paragraph 12 in the report, where I have observed that to enable the council to identify all risks, it is essential that all members and officers are up to date on risk awareness. Since the previous audit, it was recommended that trade and risk be given to officers and members, and I could not identify this have been carried out since that audit. Basically, what my recommendation again is that of course we give to officers and the members. Can I add that this crops up in many of the councils I audit, and what I try to do, if they're willing as well, I try to liaise between various councils, just not maybe one session for everybody.
Okay.
Can I say we talked about risk management at CDOC and came back and I reported at the full council meeting, the report from CDOC, and one of the things that we talked about there was the risk management, and I think it is a good idea. I spoke to the clerk at the meeting and suggested that we might be in agreement as councillors to take part in this training, and the officers as well, and also suggested maybe we could split it into 2 sessions so that those that can't get during the day can have one on the night time, so we could leave it to the clerk to find out when people could attend, when they'd be available. I think it's essential that we all help to once again get it up from substantial. Substantial is very good, very nice to move that up. So I would know that we authorise the clerk to organise that training, and on the lines of morning and afternoon, or sorry, morning and evening, or afternoon and evening, whatever's needed.
So that's the recommendation on the table for this. So
Yeah.
if you're proposing that, David, we'll get a seconder in a minute. We'll just see if anybody's got does anybody else want to come in on this one? We ask one many more questions. Alan, do you want to come in on this one?
I've just mentioned obviously the risk management was the one thing that was flagged up on our excellent audit last year, because of the cycle we managed to miss a whole financial year because we looked at risk management in March and the year before the election, because it was felt that an incoming council wouldn't really know what they were looking at trying to do it in May in the first meeting. And then we moved it back to May at the annual meeting the following year, so we inadvertently missed out a whole year, although we did it in both calendar years. So we've obviously moved that back to the AGM in May now. So my further recommendation would be that we now have a policy working group to look at this kind of stuff. And I would suggest that we instruct the policy working group to review the risk management statement and matrix in advance of it coming back to the AGM in May, so they can actually have a good look over it before it gets presented back to the council. And the training obviously was delivered before that.
Okay. Does anybody want to come back in on what Alan's just said? Okay, so we've got David proposing the top off. Does David, do you want to increase your thing to add the policy work? We'll have a look at the framework before the AGM as well.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Does somebody want to second that? Thanks, Joanne. Just wait on right side. Does anybody have anything at all for Gordon that's not included in the 3 things he's been looking at? No. Well, it looks like you're free to go. Unless you've got anything else to say. Thank you very much. So we're going exits by the squeaky door and and then we'll get a start on the
Thank you.
next
Thank
item.
you, everybody.
We're going to move back to item number 6, which is accounts for payment and bank reconciliation. Hopefully members will have noticed there's a bit of a different format, which is something we've talked about. As you'll have all seen, we've got a myriad of different ways you could do the same thing. And I don't know, we sort of had a stab in the dark and said, we'll try that one, and that one. So that's what you've got. So I don't know exactly what Alan's going to say here, but the way I was looking at it is, we'll try it this new way, see if we like it, and then we can tweak it and get things to work better for us. Really. So we've just got our usual, we've got our schedule of payments, our schedule of receipts, our bank reconciliation and balances, and our explanatory report, which is a new thing, which sort of helps us with this new year. And we're asked to consider the information, hopefully approve the payments of accounts for February 2019, and note the bank reconciliation for February 2019. I'll throw it open to you all.
Okay. Hopefully, if you've read the explanatory report, that kind of explains what I've done. Mark and I had a conversation after the last finance committee, where obviously members wanted things to be presented in a different way. It was hopefully easier to understand and focus in on. I looked at a number of other town councils and how they report things. Mark and I looked at Great Aycliffe's schedule of payments and found that they reported all their payments grouped by a cost centre, so you could see where a payment was against what area. So rather than having a long list with all payments in it, hopefully you could see that payment related to the admin team, and that related to democracy, and that related to Pact House or whatever. So that's what we've done with the payments. We've kind of put it into broadish groupings because we didn't want to break it down too far, because we'd end up with the same report that we had before with everything in 100 different lines. So I broke it out to admin, publicity, democracy, Pact House, so the broad headings of events, environment services, grants, civic hall bar, although that could go with civic hall, but I've just separated this one, and obviously the loan payments, and then we put the payroll deductions and the payroll on at the end. So whereas before you would get a list of payments which showed you checks and direct debits, and then another load of list of payments that showed you each individual backs run, because every time we do a backs run every week you have an individual list. What you've got now is everything all in one place in one report, grouped by broad headings. Obviously it's a first attempt, and what I'd like from members is feedback about whether they think it's okay, whether they think it's not okay, what they'd like to see on it, what's wrong with it, etc. Receipts, likewise, it's difficult with receipts, and I've said this on reports, when essentially anything that goes through the till, it's not a smart till, it's a dumb till. So if someone comes in and pays for a ticket, they give us 30 quid for a ticket, it goes through the till and it gets cashed up. But it's without having a more sophisticated till which actually records everything. You can't get a line by line of every payment that goes through that till. So what we have done is separated to civic hall invoices paid, and we've actually gone through. Whereas on the old list, all you got was a number. This one, we've actually cross-referenced that to the ledger. You can see who's paying the invoices for bookings. We've shown income from the Anfield Plain community room and the bank refund that we got separately, and what's gone through the till and what's gone through the web payments. So you can kind of see broadly where payments are coming in from. So you can see that on the second page of that report, where it says advanced ticket sales holding account, those are web payments, and all the other payments that have gone through the box office, either in person or on the phone. And then the invoices are obviously ones that have been paid on invoices that are raised at the civic board. So that hopefully is clearer, maybe not perfect, but it's a work in progress. The other report.
Do you want to take questions on anything on them too, and then what you want to do? The next one, because they sort of dovetail together, don't they?
Yeah, fine.
That's slightly different. So does anybody want to comment on the first two reports. We're not looking, well, I'm not looking for sort of queries of what's this been individually, what's that individually. We'll take that in a couple of minutes. Just on, is the format easy to use, Jeanette?
I just would say it's much easier to use that, and because the match, you can, you know, the way that broken down is much simpler to see across all of the documentation. So it's easier to read.
Anybody else? Jeanette?
I appreciate the work the officers have had to do to get the stage to this point. It's completely different from what we're doing before. But it does go somewhere, a good way towards what we were asking for. I think we should possibly run with this now, and over a period of time, members will have questions on it, and we'll decide a time to modify it if we need to. So at the moment, I would accept the reports as they are on B, C, D and E, and we'll just keep monitoring it, see if it's helpful to members.
Okay. So, Alan, do you want to go through, is it D you've got that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, D is basically, it's just the same. We just condensed the bank rec and the bank statements into one report. Could have done that any time, really. So just, rather than having them separate, they're just in one report. The whole point of the bank rec is just so that you can see the balances on the bank statement match the balances that are in our accounting system. That's all it's for. Likewise, that's what the trial balance is for. And I think the feedback last month was, do we need that? It's there, and you can run it off any time you want to if you want to see it. I think one of the reasons that we still have the trial balance on, because like a previous chair of this committee, David Walker, was always very keen to see the trial balance, which was why it ended up on there in the first place, because we never used to report it. In terms of these new reports, they producing them, obviously the reports that we used to present you, we presented to you because they were really easy to produce, because I could just press a button and the system would produce it. These reports require us to pull that information out of our system into spreadsheets, make some amendments to the spreadsheets, and then do a little bit of cross-matching. Obviously, Alan is working on a new job description for the new finance officer that's going to replace Susan, and the production of these reports, which I've worked on these with Susan this month, but that will go into that job description, so that we'll be asking that officer to produce these reports and present them, rather than me sitting there doing it like I have done this month. So if members are happy to accept that format for now, that's great. We'll work with that for now.
Does anybody else want to make any comments? Or, David suggested we approve the payments of accounts and note the bank reconciliation. Is everybody happy to do that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 7, budget monitoring. So we've got our year-to-date expenditure budget report, which is attachment F, and our budget monitoring report, which is attachment G. Asked to consider and decide if any action is required. So I'll throw that over to you again now.
Okay. Attachment F is the same report that you've always been getting. To be honest with you, it's provided for completeness, because I know that not everyone likes this report, but it is the report that's where all the information is. So if people want to look at it, then great. If they don't, then they don't need to, because hopefully the budget monitoring report that I provided will give you the broad brushstroke. So I'll just brush over attachment F for now, unless there's any queries on it, and move on to attachment G. Attachment G was basically when Finance Committee was looking at the paperwork last month. Again, they wanted a budget monitoring report which gave them more summary information. So I've tried to do that, and I've essentially broken it down into the same broad areas that I broke the payments report into, so that they kind of match up. Now if these aren't right, then obviously we can change those in the future, but I thought it would make more sense. So I've grouped our existing costs which are in this report, in the detail report, into groups. So I've, so where it says administration, that's actually 3 different cost centres from the big report grouped together. Likewise, where it says democracy, publicity, assets, external services, that is a bunch of cost centres grouped together and taken as a group. And that's the approach I've taken through the report. which hopefully makes sense. And if we need to move things around inside the budgets to make it make more sense, then we can do that. So it was also flagged up by Councillor Marshall, Councillor Carl Marshall, about having some sort of status on there, with, with the green, amber, red. So I've done that as well within the groups that I've made up for the purpose of these reports. So the table at the back of attachment G, which is the appendix, this was what it's unfortunate that Councillor Binney and Councillor Marshall aren't here tonight, because obviously a lot of this was trying to implement their recommendations from last meeting. But you can see on the appendix, which is the last page of that report, which is a table, you can see where the groupings are, and you can see the year-to-date expenditure, the original budget, which you'll find on the big report, but then you've got the variance, which Councillor Binney specifically asked for. You've got the available amount in each budget. So the variance shows you the difference between what we're budgeted and what we spent. What's available shows you what money's left to be spent in each individual budget, and then there's a percentage spent column, which gives it as a simple percentage. So obviously, if you've got areas where there's an overspend, for example, if you move to democracy, where the budget was 8,850 and we've spent 16,000, you'll see that there's a number in brackets. Well, that number in brackets is an overspend. It means that it's a minus, yeah? Whereas the numbers aren't in brackets are positive. So in case anyone didn't understand it. So as you move down each heading, you can see the variance. So there's no variance in the precept because that's a number. With publicity, you can see that we budgeted 15,000. We've only spent 3,000. So there's £12,000 variance, and we've only spent 20% of the budget. So at the bottom of each group, which are the groups which are on the main report, you can see I've given you a subtotal of spend in the year to date, and I've given you a number for what budget's remaining in that subtotal. And then the report gives you a bit of detail about that subtotal. So you can actually tear the appendix off the back, get a paper copy, and read the two together, because each line on the table relates to a paragraph in the report. So, does that make sense to people, or not? Does the report make sense?
Does anybody want to? Everybody sitting silently. Does that mean that everybody's split up about it than they were before? Jordan, do you want to say something?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not sure where the overspends are, that we didn't highlight that somehow, so it was easy to see.
Okay.
If you're having an overspend, how quickly would you highlight it? Do you know what I mean? At what point would we say, and it doesn't matter which budget you pick, any budget, you're only halfway through in the year, but you've spent 9/10 of the budget. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At what point and how will we highlight that?
Well, that's kind of the reason for the percentage spend column, because obviously, there's 12 periods in the year, so you could break that down to sort of roughly 8% per period if you do it. If it was a straight line budget, which not all of them are. Some of them will be 100% up front, and that will still be agreed. Some of them will be in instalments. Like, for example, one of the risks I've highlighted here is in the services budget, where we haven't paid the second instalment for the advice service yet. So on the papers, the services budget looks hunky-dory because we've got a big amount of money there. But clearly, we've got that 28,000 due to go out, and DCC have not clarified with us what the payment is for the wardens, because by my calculation, the payment that we pay for the wardens should be the whole year, but the invoice said 6 months warden service on it, and we still haven't had confirmation that isn't the case. So, clearly I need to know whether that is the full payment or not, because if it isn't, because if they're saying it's not, then we have to have a row with DCC, and if they're saying it is, then we know that that's not a risk. But that's what this is highlighting. So, it'd be a very simple, and bear in mind that we're in period 11 now. So actually, you don't need to be an accountant to know that we've got 100,000 left to last us a month. That's kind of quite easy to work out. We'll just about do that. But in periods 1 and 2 and 3, it's a lot more useful to have the percentage spend than it is in period 11. But I think, yeah, we could quite easily introduce simply like a colour code of red, green, along that percentage spend column. If that would make it clearer.
I was just thinking, for some reason, if just imagine we've got into month 4, as you say, earlier rather than later, and we're getting close, and we haven't highlighted why we're getting close, and it's part of the risk, you know, then there's a quick, easy way. If you're looking for numbers, it's perhaps not as quick, and you could go, oh, hang on, that's a bit, you know. You would instantly highlight that there's a reason, you need to look at it, there's whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Is that not what this report's all about? So that
Yeah,
it's really forecasting for us
Yeah.
that we need to be aware that such and such is going to be overspent if we continue spending it.
I think what John's saying is, what we want to do is we want to read this bit, then you want to flick to that page, and the picture it ready, just
yes,
have it
yeah,
work.
that's
Stop
what
it.
we covered, yeah.
I think,
Afford it.
obviously, I think, unfortunately,
Just the dangerous.
Yeah.
Councillor Binney and Councillor Marshall aren't here, but what I took away from what they were saying at last month's committee meeting was that the report that I was providing, I was saying there's variance here, there's variance there, and I'm predicting we'll be okay. What they were saying was, well, I want to look down the list and see if it looks like we're going to be okay myself.
Yeah.
And that was what this was designed to do.
Yeah.
That was the whole,
So
what I was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
I think that succeeds.
it's a lot better, just if you put the colour coded thing on this,
Yeah.
it's what you have on the other
Yeah.
page.
Just the ones that would, that you might have a concern, I'm not saying you have a concern, but we could be getting, you know, just a little bit in and think, hang on, why have we spent all that? And it might be nothing, it might be we've just had paid up front, but
Well,
you've highlighted
it's
it.
very easy to highlight a percentage of spend which is above where you should be from a straight line.
Yeah,
Easy.
exactly.
And that can be easy done.
Yeah, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just, I find it useful, the report as a whole, and I'm sure if something was denomination looking in the budget that we're overspending, that would be brought to our attention, that we put out the report, and it'll be pointed out to us that we've got a problem here. Because early in the days when we were up at the City Hall, it was £285,000 expenditure going out, we didn't know where it was. This allows things earlier and be identified. So I'm happy with the report as it stands. I can't speak for my son or Gordon, but I'm happy with this. Hopefully they'll accept what's in there and be pleased with it. But once again, we'll learn and grow.
Does anybody else want to come out on this item? No. Do we accept the reports? And obviously Alan's got the feedback on the new format, so there's nothing else you need from this item, is there?
I'll have the colour coding, and what I'll do is, based on the feedback that I've got, I'll just do another report which kind of helps to explain what you're looking at on the report.
Yeah.
You know? So what the percentage spend is going to relate to, and what the green and red is going to be marked up as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, you can see from the agenda, like, that we're going to get to know quite early if things are going to go wrong, because we're going to get to know about the bank reconciliation here before December 2019. So there, I think you reported great things.
Mark has been kind there by actually changing that result here.
I'll keep this nice and toast on his face.
You can take that out of the record before we send it out.
Okay, right. If everybody's happy with that one, we'll move on to item number 8, which is Local Council's Award Scheme, which is attachment 8. Just wait long flicks through these papers. Do you want to present this one up?
Okay, well, Nicola wrote the report, she'll present it really.
Go on, Nicola.
You said you changed the report.
Okay, hopefully you members have had the opportunity to read the report. It's not terribly complicated. I think most councillors are aware of what the Local Council's Award Scheme is. It's a national standard which is produced by the National Association of Local Councils, which takes into account the statutory requirements that a local council has to follow and best practice, and basically enables councils to apply for accreditation at various levels to prove that the council is meeting nationally agreed recognised standards. Now, when we went through the restructuring exercise and we wrote the job descriptions for the senior admin officer, my colleague to the right, we did actually put in there the responsibility of that member of staff would be to do the work to seek the accreditation and to maintain the work. So Nicola's gone on and started doing that work because of her job description. And what she's done is she's done a review of where we are now in terms of what's needed to meet the standard, and basically put together a timeline for achieving that. So the proposal that we're putting forward to members is that we seek to get the foundation award in the next 12 months, which is the lowest level. But in tandem with that, we get Alan and myself, the other Alan and myself, to undertake the Silka training course so that we can both get the qualification, which will enable us to then get to the quality level next year. And then, once we've got the quality level, council then reviews whether it wants to go for the quality gold level in 2021, 22. That's the proposal. It's not a hugely expensive process. It only costs £600 to apply for the award. None of the work which is required by the Quality Council's accreditation is anything that we should aspire to do anyway. So it's all best practice. So I would recommend that we follow the recommendation on the agenda.
Thanks, Alan. Everybody's just saying nobody's put their hands up, so does anybody want to come in? I'll go and do it.
Well, just, yeah, I think we should be applying for it, and I'm pleased to see that we've got the Silka training course in there for the clerk and town deputy clerk, because speaking to the colleagues in CDOG, nearly every one of their clerks there have this certificate, and it all goes towards it. I think it's a good thing to have. I think it shows that we operate efficiently and properly. And I think we should just say yes, we'll go for more. We want to try one.
Anybody else? Okay, so are you proposing that we go straight for the we go straight up the ladder without?
No, you've got to go through it. You can't go straight away. You've got to go through
Oh,
the
no, that, but I mean.
jump through the hoops, but we should go through them all anyway.
Right. Okay then. So, Jim's proposing that we agree the recommendation on the paper. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
And it's tonight.
It's not over yet.
After 7 hours,
It's still tough.
So we'll move on to item number 9, local war memorials. We've got a report attached relating to local war memorials in the Stanley Town Council area. And wants to consider the report and decide what to do. Alan? Alan?
Hello folks,
Confused now?
It's funny you're not got a middle name.
right folks, I've got asked I want to start one of the things to do a review of the war memorials, also look back on to see what what's been happening with this sort of thing in the past with their attendance at events and such like. I did a review of all the memorials, went down and actually had a look at them, and I took some photos, I think some of that in the appendix and the report, just to see what the conditions was like and see whether there was any issues with any of them, whether they were all okay. Similarly, we looked at a little bit on the previous reports and the previous meetings about Remembrance Day events, and just trying to tie it all together into one report if I could. Happy to take any questions anybody's got on that. The actual things that we're looking for is what level of support officers want us to provide for the events around the parish. Do we just plan things a little bit more in advance so we know exactly who's going to be what, where, when. So we've got that down to make sure everything gets covered. The Beacon event as well, something that we want to promote. It was very successful last year, I believe. This is something that we want to encourage and maybe even grow this year. Do we need to continue with the wreath laying at the Civic Hall? Because I think it's now about the Beacon it was it's a minor event, but do we want to do it or not? And whether or not the council wishes officers to get involved in trying to resolve some of the issues that we've got with some of the memorials. So happy to take questions if anybody's got them.
When you say issues with some of the memorials, what do you mean issues with some of the memorials?
Most of them were structurally the same. It's fine. I mean, there were some minor ones. I think sort of there's a one at Churchtown, Southwark, which has some effects in St George's, which the base was crap and those things there. St Andrews, I think we've identified that in the past. The memorial itself looks in good nick. It's the right note. It's very worn. You can't. You've got to really get up close to read the inscription on it, so we can get something done next to help them do that. And I think the other issue is always the access to one cry. I think that's always a main thing with there. It's a nice place, but there's a lot of steps to get in.
Can I just, the one at Anfield Lane, the one with the loud bag, Daniel has done some work on maintenance. It seems there are certain people who have taken on the responsibility of maintenance. If you have a word with Daniel,
Yeah.
he'll tell you exactly what's being done for the maintenance of the loud bag.
It does look pretty tiny, to be fair. I think it was just the writing was a little bit worn on it. I think I'm no expert, but I think it's the type of stone it is as well. You know, the type of stone, it's some of the more granite ones are more sort of polished, and that's more rough stone, so it does tend to look a bit more sort of dirty and that, but itself looks fine, and it does look well kept. The plants is nice, and it is
The council
it's
says
in good
no
condition.
on that one, but the lighting itself, I think, there's says people that are looking at it. So have a word at Daniel Bragg.
Will do, yeah. No problem, man.
David, did you want to come in on this one?
Yeah, can I thank Alan for this? I've been asked some questions about all of the memorials we had. I was never sure what they were and where they were, and whether we missed any or anything like that. And this is an excellent report. It's all part of our heritage, same as the miners were, are, and the I think we can break it down into two things. I don't think we're looking to take over any maintenance of the memorial. That belongs to the groups that run them, and how they want to run their services and things like that is up to them. So it's a matter of finding out, and local councils will know, perhaps they can come back with that information, who organises it, who does it, so we can contact them. If people want to do repairs or renew something, then we point them in the right way, but we don't have a budget specifically for that. These areas you can get for repairing the memorials that are needing work done to them. I believe that we should see how we can still support these services. Last year was an exceptional year in that it was the 100 years of World War I. The memorial services were very well attended. 340 per head. Normally we are 140 if we're lucky, you know. But if we could get it, find out what they do and ensure that they're protected, because I know that some drop away because they don't have the support that they need. It could be that we can print the order of services for them, photocopy them, sorry. With our logos on, saying we're supporting it and things like that. We can arrange the laying of the raves at the appropriate ones, and councillors are going to have to decide where they are, because 11 o'clock is the time that they've got to be laid. And the other big one is the one that Alan mentioned, the one on the front street. Was quite excellent. There was quite a crowd there for that one. I think we built on, because it was just councillors getting up and saying a few words and reading poems. It went down very well, but I think we could have more of a bit of a service with music programme where you can sing appropriate music, and I would like to see that developed in some more the event that we had on. So yes. contact the people that run them, because it's up to them what they want. If they say no, we don't want you to do anything, we don't want anything to do with you, that's fair enough. Now we know you're there, we can help to support the groups in our community. So that's the way I see it going, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what other members think.
Anybody else want to
I just
comment, Carol?
don't know, I'm led to believe St George's is closing, so I don't know what's happening with that. They figured out on there to get stolen a few years ago, and that's a replacement. But I haven't got a date for the church closing, that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm led to believe.
Thanks, Carol.
I'll see Dennis and see if he's going to do the tax and the caretaker.
Anybody else? John?
The one in Anfield Green Park, we just redid the lettering. So that's level 8 years old. So that wouldn't, we
Cross
did,
that one off.
sorry Mark, we just, it's actually been repaired and because the sword was broken, so that's been done,
Yeah.
the lettering's been done, they've tidied up the base, there's a little tiny bit at the top to do, but as much.
Sounds like you already need that one,
Well, the reason the memorial in Anfield Plain is actually there are only 3 in the country. One which stands in London, where, the main one, and there's this one, and then there's one, and I've forgotten where that one is. So it's, and I do have a roundabout on it, so it's kind of a bit close to me heart. But we started a new event last year, where the children come on the last day of school, and that will continue this year.
The next part. Okay, David's recommending that we stick our feelers out and find out who organises what where and collate everything and then bring it back. Also, how can I put this? We also sort of, when we find who the people are, we approach them and say, look, we do this for here. Is there anything we can do to help you make your event more successful? Is everybody happy with that?
I mean, one of the problems I found, and I spoke to Clark about it, is the peer system we use here, it's an internal one really. And to get the voice heard right round doesn't work very good.
Yeah.
So I would like us to explore the costs. When people come back and say we'd like peer support, let's see how many peer systems we needed and look at getting a slightly improved system with a better microphone and better sound all around.
Yeah, John, did you want to come back in then I'll bring on in?
We bought a new one last year, and the partnership bought a new one last year, and it's better than,
Yes.
I'm not saying it's the best,
Yeah.
but it's better than, yeah, and that might just be, it's newer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if you don't need it, it could be Southmore and Craighead and people like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
could use
we
it,
bought one last year,
Yeah.
and it's
A
a
lot
lot
of
more
these-
technical than me bought it.
All
A
right.
lot of the, I'm conscious, I'm a member of the British Legion, and of course the British Legion doesn't run the events, but they tend to turn up with raids sometimes. But I'm interested in helping the community groups that do organise them so that they don't drop off and we lose them.
Yeah. Okay, Alan, did you want to come back in?
I just wanted to press for some clear decisions.
Yeah.
If you look at the second paragraph 5 on the report, there you'll see where it's members to consider and decide what levels of support. Well, obviously, Councillor Marshall's proposal has dealt with that about putting the feelers out to groups, finding out what levels of support they have, who's organising what. But where I would like a decision, if possible, is about whether we're going to carry on with this replaying of the cold tub outside, or whether we're actually going to just focus on the beacon event, or whether we're going to do both, because that would be nice to know.
I would like both. I think it's important to be recognized as well. I would say. So I'd like to have both.
Anybody else, Jeanette?
Just how well is it attended?
Civic Hall,
Civic Hall.
normally half
sort of civic event, so I don't know whether
Yeah.
it matters that no members of the public sort of come down or.
I mean, some do. I mean, it's one of those things because you know, we used to run next to a bus stop, aren't we? And it tends to be the case that when we do it, some people that are passers by will stop and stand.
Be their respect.
You know, one year there was a whole coach of school that kids got off and they all stood there. Yeah.
Do one swimming.
Yeah. So it's not hugely cost expensive. I mean, we have to basically pay a bugler to come and play the last post, and the rest of it we just get a printer and another room. It's not hugely expensive. It's just a question of whether we're going to do both.
Yeah, so what's the feel of the meeting? Paul, I think we should still do both. Anybody else? Nobody else seems to have a fair opinion about it, so it looks like we're in the week. Is everybody happy with
I
that?
suppose it links the by putting it on the tub, it links the miners
Yeah.
and the war, because the miners went to war, so I suppose it does link the two. Correlation there.
Right, okay then, so that's your firm decision. Anything else you need?
A second there would be good. I suppose David and Bella. They're the two.
Okay, so we've already had item number 10, which was the internal audit report. So we'll move on to item number 11, which is the events working group. We've got the minutes of the meeting which was held on the 1st of March, and we're asked to receive the minutes, note the decisions taken by the working group, and decide if any further action is required. Alan, do you want to say anything about the minutes?
Well, I mean, there's not much more to report than in the minutes. Obviously, the Miners Sunday event seems to be shaping up nicely. We've confirmed that we're going to use NDA for the relocated view lane around the park, so it's just literally across the road. And obviously the Armed Forces Day, we reported last month about the issue we had with the 101st, and at the moment we are contacting contacts to try and see if we can get some further support. I know Scott has contacted other people. I emailed Kevin Jones, because he's obviously the former Armed Forces Minister, who's got lots of things with upgrade, things like that, house and fees, and I think he's going to have a look into it as well. So really we're waiting for, we haven't got anyone confirmed for that yet, so that's the kind of the thing to flag up as a potential risk. Everything else is on track.
Thank you very much. Does anybody want to come in on that one? I suppose the only update is that on the bottom that the next meeting's tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
That's good. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so the next meeting's tomorrow at 2 o'clock, so hopefully we should be able to get an update on the attendance or non-attendance of the armed forces and move things along. Does anybody else want to come and comment on this one?
Thank the committee for the work that they're doing on that, for the next report.
Yeah. So we're deciding that no further action is required and we'll just continue with the meeting tomorrow.
Can I just ask a
Sorry.
quick question? Have you invited the DLI people in that to come along? Have you?
Scott has contacted 50 groups. And I mean, I've produced a list of the groups that he's contacted, but he's been casted into the biggest far and wide, so DLI on top of the list. Do you mean the DLI Veterans Association?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, no, we'll ask them to come along. We always do. But what we're looking for is the active armed services element. That's where we've got the issue, because the 101st are on deployment and they can't support us as they have all the other years we've done. So we need to find some active armed forces. Obviously, the veterans will write to them and tell them what days and ask them to attend. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we need some serving servicemen for the event.
Right. We'll move on to item number 12, telephones and broadband, which is attachment L. I've got a grunt from my left, so I think this might be on the left. I don't know yet, but we'll find out more. So, there's a report here, and we're asked to make a decision on 2 types of system. So I'll hand over to Alan on the left to present his report.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's something that we've got asked to just look at again. It just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. It hasn't stopped growing to a certain extent. I mean, basically our telephone system, the telephone system that we have at the minute is getting turned off somewhere in the future. Our contract's coming to an end soon, so BT's contacted us and said, we'll upgrade the system now at a cheaper rate. At that time, we've had a look at other systems that's available. It's been imposed by somebody else, and we've got the details of them. They can provide us with a telephone system cheaper still. Is the new systems broadband based? And as we've used broadband in the past for stuff like streaming, live streaming meetings and that, the issue that we've had is we share the broadband with everybody else. You can go down a route where you're getting your own designated broadband line in, and once that's in, the telephone system works off that. So when it improves your broadband, it should improve your telephone system, and it should give you more scope to do other things. As we've done this, it's gone kind of with another company that can come in to provide that service, they do the telephony, but they also look at it, also encompasses all the other IT services that we cover as well. So that's kind of where we're at with it, we're looking for there. We can replace the current system, we can stick with BT or go with somebody else that's cheaper, just purely phones, or we can look at upgrading the broadband connection, getting a more designated connection, and looking at another company that's going to perhaps provide us with the telephone system we need, but also give us access to more services or probably develop what we're doing as well.
I mean, essentially the decision, the reason this is on the agenda is not because our phone contract's up and we need a new one, because we could do that ourselves, you know. But clearly, what we've identified is that there's 2 options. We've got an opportunity to just replace our system with a like for like, obviously the new, you know, the VoIP, they're turning off ISDN VoIP, which is what we're on now for those that know what those terms mean, and everything's going to be broadband based. So we can just replace with a like for like and make a saving on our current phone bills. No bother. But during the process of getting quotes, we've been approached by another company, local company, who are saying, well actually, you know, for the same, or for a similar cost to what you're paying currently under your current contract, we can upgrade your line to a dedicated line. Now, I remember, obviously Alan doesn't because he wasn't here, but I remember that a little while ago we looked into getting a dedicated line, because the problem we have in this building is that everyone gets home from work and head away and turns Netflix on, and our internet drops off and no one's computer's working anymore. So it's one of these things, there's an opportunity here to upgrade our broadband infrastructure without it costing us any more, or we stay how we are with a shared connection and we make a bit of financial saving. That's the decision point here. It's nothing to do with who the suppliers are and anything else. It's about what's your view on that.
Right. So before we open it up to debate, I don't know whether that's left or right, but from an officer perspective, because normally we have, we recommend that this happens, whereas on this one we've just got, you can either do A or B, and if everybody's the same as me and sitting here like, so which one from an officer's standpoint do you recommend? It seems like B is more future-proof but costs more, whereas A sort of gives you better than what you've got now. But, you know what I mean? So can you sort of explain a bit around that before I open it up?
Well, option A essentially replaces like for like, and it just future-proofs us a bit because they're turning ISDN on. Option B, basically, you know, it was the thing that council wanted to do, which was when we bought that camera, which was to live stream meetings on Facebook, and our internet infrastructure wasn't up to it. You know, option B would enable us to do that because we'd have a dedicated line. It would also mean that, you know, I mean, the internet is not great in this building any time of day. I mean, if you ask my colleagues, they'll tell you that sometimes our internet just drops out for no apparent reason. And obviously, if it's dropping out for us in the office, it's going to drop out for people using the building as well. And clearly, as we progress in the Civic Hall with the cinema screen and stuff, we don't know whether we're going to be wanting to have a, you know, but if I was going to make a recommendation, I would recommend option B. But it's you know, it's not something that I feel strongly enough about to pin my name to it. But I would say that actually having a dedicated line does give us a better internet infrastructure. If our long-term plan now is not to move the staff set up to another building as it was, but to actually repurpose this building, then actually it would make sense, because it does kind of future-proof you. You don't know where technology is going to go tomorrow, but certainly the faster the internet you've got, you're going to be better prepared for it than if you've got a little shared connection, as I said, with everyone head away, as we have at the moment.
Thank you. Paulus, we went back.
I was just wondering, after having experienced the system that you've got, will you as officers know what you really want and then tell people, you know, this is what we want, how much is it going to cost to put it in? Are we sure what we want for this building put in for the future? You said you want the broadband here, but that's the only one option. Have you looked at what you want to make your office work, function, and your councillors work and function efficiently? And this is what we want, and ask someone, what are you going to cost to supply what we want for this building?
You'll be looking at the overall package of everything. Yeah, well, we haven't done that because I mean, as Alan said to you, what happened with this was that basically we got BT writing a letter saying in 2022 we're turning off ISDN, so you need to upgrade your system. So it was like, well, okay, that's 2022 is a few years away. I can wait till Alan starts. So I just parked that, and when he started, I said, go away and get some prices. And it's kind of grown exponentially from there. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, you know, there is a need to replace our phone system because they're switching the old one off. Yes, you know, if you want this to become a complete review of all of our IT, clearly that's going to be a piece of work that's going to take Alan a bit longer to do. but if that's what you think we should do,
essentially that will allow you to get what you want rather than what someone's ready to give you, and then you suddenly realize, I wish we also had this, I wish we also had that, or we didn't want this. So what I'm saying is, if after having worked here and you see the failings of the system and all the good things about the system, have we sat down and thought, this is what we want for the civic hall of Stanley, for our councillors and for the staff, and then we go and tell people, this is what we want, what's it going to cost to put it in?
Well, we haven't done that for the full lot because we've been looking at the telephone system and broadband connection. You know, we've not said to any of these companies, you know, Aspire are a broadband company. We've not said, well, you know, we want to know what it's going to cost to get 2 multifunction printers and a server backup, because we've just been looking at the telephone side of things. And obviously, you know, we don't have a really super complicated setup. You know, all of the stuff that we give you is off-the-shelf standard stuff. All the stuff that we buy is off-the-shelf standard stuff, and we use commercially available services to try and operate as, you know, with the minimum amount of IT support. And actually, we have a very, very small amount of IT downtime because we just buy reliable hardware that's easy to maintain. So yeah, we could look at server backup, we could look at the printer contract. But I would suggest we don't need to do it all in one go. We could do those things individually. You know, we could look at the broadband system and the telephones, and then we can actually do the rest of it separately. I don't think we need to do it all at once. That's my opinion. But
I've got Joanne, then Jeanette, and
I think in terms of professional organisations these days, the digital age and everything being upgraded is a need, it's a must for anybody that's going to go forward and give like the modern services that everybody needs and expects from being able to be out and about and attach to Wi-Fi and get on broadband. So I think I agree, the broadband package as well, the dedicated line would bring this up the standard at least for where we are today in the sort of digital age. But, do you know what I mean? And yeah, the phones are the priority because they're going to be switched off in 2 years, so we need to look at that. And it might just be a case of going out and getting the company to switch them over and everything, but I know obviously the bigger the organisation, the bigger the project, but it'll be easier for us because we are smaller, but I think the broadband as well, the dedicated line will be able to let us live stream again. It'll let everybody have the access in the offices to be able to do the work without anything dropping out. If we're here till after 5 o'clock and Netflix gets switched on, do you know what I mean? You've got to be able to do your job, and that's, if that's going to be the way to help and give everybody the work that we can do, then I'd like the way that broadband line is the way forward.
I was just going to say that, you know, picking up with about Bella's point, that we do need to make a decision, or maybe not make a decision, but decide what we're going to do about the telephony side of things now, but with an eye to what else we want to do. We've just been talking earlier, David was talking about, you know, flexi, you know, ability to be able to put your card basically and use technology to do that, or, you know, when you log into your computer, it logs you into work basically. You know, there's all sorts of different systems you can do, and we need to make sure that as we start bringing these other things in, that we have the, you know, capacity basically, the IT capacity built in to the system to sort of plug bits in as we go down the line basically. So future proofing would be what I would say. And at Bella's point, we need to know where we want to be and what we want, and then we can plan how we're going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, we're all IT experts sitting around here. Wish we were. But, I mean, there's all sorts of things when it comes to mind. I've even thought about selling the broadband from a point of view or the use of it. If we could get the agreement of people to put shows on there, we might have disabled people at home who would like to log on and then make a payment like you do for Netflix and things like that. And you can stream it out, so there's all sorts of things. There's swipe cards we want to put in. So if we had a report, and I know it's difficult, we need to take professional advice on it, what it would cost us for the total package, and everybody put in what they want or what they would like to see, then we can pull back from that depending on what it costs in the budget and that type of thing. But let's try to think of the future as well. What can we do with it? What can we do with the whole thing? So I'm in favour of having this dedicated line. You need one if you're going to really use IT, rather than just having it over a phone, because as good as they are, it still goes down and reduces in speed, especially when you get so many councillors sitting in here with the laptops and things. It all pulls on it. So I want to be quite sure that what we're going to get will meet our future needs and our present needs. I don't think we should shoot off. I'm in agreement, we need a phone system and we need new lines. But let's try and get something together somehow, somewhere, where we'll try and future-proof and people think what we could do.
Certainly out of the people that we spoke to, there's a difference between two of the companies, BT and this other company, or telephone companies that would have hired the broadband is a bit of an extra.
Yeah.
Whereas the other company, the Aspire company, was very much an IT company that provided the broadband, and then the phones came in as part of that. So I think they did have, there was certainly more flexibility looking to them than there was for the people that were just going to provide us with phones.
Thank you. Al on the right, do you want to come in?
Just to say that, as obviously we have, you know, an existing IT partner that we've worked with on, you know, for a number of services. And clearly, if we're looking at expanding the provision of this, then we need to get them to go as well. So, you know, we've identified that two of the companies that we've got quotes from can't meet all the needs and the specification that we're sort of coming up with. So, I think we need to develop a specification. We need to get that quoted against by both companies.
Yeah. And if people can think of other companies that could provide us that, just see how far we go.
Let's go for the gold standard,
Yeah.
and then if we need to pull, you know, what do you use, what,
Yeah.
but most fabulous, all singing, all dancing office.
That's
And,
brilliant.
you know,
I mean, the company that we quoted was actually to actually do Durham County Council instead. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing.
Depends where you get your telephone from.
But they've certainly got impressive clients these days.
yeah.
DCC and NHS and all kinds of big organisations.
Got everything you need?
Think so? Yeah.
Okay. Everybody, probably don't need a proposal or a second because I think everybody's in agreement on that.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Get
way
it scoped out more.
Right, up there, we'll have a look at it.
But, right, so anyway, I think we've decided that we want to
look at
number 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want to look at number 2, but look at everything that's around it. Yeah. Committee actions update, which is attachment M.
Okay.
Sorry, that was it too.
Yeah, it's just there's only really 3 things to report on here. We'll start with the defibrillator, the ongoing side of the defibrillator. Basically, we have gone for a plan B on this because the DWP were taking so long to sort anything out, and then they decided to get a defibrillator inside the job centre without telling us. And just put a sign up outside saying we've got a defibrillator inside the building. So, plan B is that we're going to go back to plan A and stick it on the side of Packed House because there's still not an external AED down there. Because the whole point. There seems to be. When we started this, there wasn't a single defibrillator in Stanley. Now it seems that everyone's got one. But so we're now looking. We've gone back and we talked to Packed House, and we're now looking at getting it put there. So that will hopefully move quicker now that now we can phone up an electrician ourselves and we don't have to deal with DWP anymore. The other 2 actions from page 1 are the accounts for payment, which are the new reports that we've had. It was an action from last month, so that's a tick, that's done. This steering group to look at environmental projects. I haven't set that up. I really need to get James to set that up with you, so I'm not really sure what it is we want to look at, and also who wants to go on the steering group. I cannot remember where the conversation came from, but hopefully someone will remind me, because I think it was to look at the types of environmental projects they wanted James's team to focus on, or to give James some sort of steer or oversight. But really, it just needs someone to nominate some membership, and then I'll get James to arrange it with you, because James hasn't been to the last meeting.
I'll just go and say for me, we've got written in Bloom judging in 6 weeks' time. So rather than organise this now, would it not be a better idea to organise it beginning in May? Because surely for the next 6 weeks we'll be trying to concentrate on making Stanley look fabulous for Britain and Bloom. You know what I mean? So would that be all right with everybody?
I'll defer this action till May then, yeah?
I was just thinking that we'll defer to the next finance meeting. Then by the next finance meeting, everybody will be able to have a discussion to see who wants to be on the thing.
Yeah.
Then we can get some members and organise a meeting for me. Or James can organise a meeting for me. Yeah. Is everybody happy with that suggestion?
Yep. Okay. That's it. That's all that's left on there, unless there's any other questions.
David's got one. He's got his hand going up and down.
Yeah.
I can almost know what it's going to be as well.
I mean, every Tuesday we talk about this, and we've talked about it since we decided to purchase 2 police vehicles back in January 18. Council took a decision to have 2, and every week we keep contacting the police and we're not getting much satisfaction. The latest memo that you've sent me now from the police, you sent me this afternoon, is that 1 vehicle is currently on site and will be liveried up soon, next week. So we've had that for long enough, and the other ones are not there. Now, we want to support the police, we want to support the public, and we need these vehicles, otherwise we wouldn't agree that last January. And we really need to put some pressure on here to get them in, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're also paying for the other vehicle. We've got the budget which we're paying for 2 new ones, And then we've got the other vehicle that hasn't been decommissioned yet, which we're still paying for.
We're not paying for the vehicle that's been decommissioned because we paid for it. Basically, they've kept one of the old STC police cars on. You've probably seen it, it's parked out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there this afternoon. So one of them has been retired and one of them is still in use. Now, we've made all the contributions to that vehicle. We're not paying for that. What we are paying, however, is we're paying DCC to hire an additional vehicle for our neighbourhood wardens because the vehicle they were supposed to be getting through this process has not been delivered.
Yeah.
Now, the vehicle that is at the depot, at the police fleet depot, is the one for our wardens. And this is not, and David is quite right when he says I meet with him every week and he has a list of things he wants to talk to me about, and this is at the top of the list every week. And I know that he's frustrated about it. This is not an issue that hasn't been chased. I've spoken to Sergeant Dave Clark about it dozens of times. I've had chains of emails forwarded to me from Dave Clark where he's been emailing this fleet manager at the Durham Police saying, what's happening with the vehicles? When are we getting the vehicles? When are the vehicles coming? And you know, I won't read the email out that I've been sent from the fleet management, but it's quite a blasé email. They don't seem to be that bothered. Well, I did, pardon?
Stop payment for the rental?
Well, we can't stop paying for the rental because the rental is from DCC for a vehicle for our wardens.
Yeah. We want to have something to use.
Well,
It doesn't bill.
maybe we should. I
Fleet
mean,
manager.
so I'm not sure where to go with it because clearly Sergeant Clark, who's my contact, is trying to apply pressure. I've emailed the fleet manager directly, and all I get is a mañana sort of response.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to know where to go with it, really.
Well, I intend to take it further on the council's behalf and go to the top and get some real answers as to why, because it's an inordinate length of time. And I think we're, as I've said in the beginning, we want to support them, at the same time we want to support us by providing with what we've agreed to do, otherwise the budget will disappear.
Just to point something out, if anybody's looking for it, it's on page 3, action number, minute reference number 54 from the 18th of July 2017.
The police cars was agreed at full council on the 23rd of January.
Yeah.
18.
January when we finally agreed.
Yeah, but the new we were going to order them.
Yeah.
From there.
The new
Yeah.
address the thing.
They should have it in position,
Ah,
they should
they
have
should have
been doing the
some-
work building up to us.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, John.
Do we know if they fitted the black box? Once they've fitted the black box, then it becomes easier. Have we signed the contract then? No?
We haven't signed an SLA.
No, it's a contract that comes with the contract.
No, we haven't signed a contract.
Right.
No.
I'll give you the one from the last time. We should, there should be one here, but I've definitely got one. And really it was the black box that was the hold up the last time, and that's to do with, so the number of days, I don't understand the technicalities, but they can tell how fast it's gone, where it's done, what it's done, all of that, I don't
A
understand
bit
that.
like a GPS tracker.
I'm assuming,
Yeah,
yes,
something like that.
yeah, it's called the black box, and they're fitted separately.
Yeah.
So once the black box is fitted, it's very quick.
They've never mentioned that in any of the
No,
conversations.
that's not been mentioned.
Right.
It's
I
all
mean,
about delivery, isn't it? So stick it.
it's just,
Stick it, quicky. Yeah, I'll go.
I mean, with the email that I've got today, and it was sent up by 10 this afternoon, is one of the vehicles is on site, will hopefully be delivered next week, hopefully. And then the next sentence is, hopefully this vehicle will be fully commissioned during the next couple of weeks. The second vehicle hasn't even been delivered from the manufacturer. I've asked for a firm date, we don't have a date. I mean, this is from the fleet manager at Durham Constabulary.
So is that a manufacturer's problem, and are they fitting the black box?
I think I could get a vehicle off Persia quicker than a year and a half. If I wanted one. Do you know what I mean? I don't think.
Hopefully we'll have some movement before the full council meeting and something more positive to report.
Everybody, have you said said, is everybody okay with that? Obviously none of us are okay with that, but does anybody else want to come in on the list?
No.
The action list, okay. So the date, time and venue of the next meeting is Wednesday the 10th of April 2019 at the Civic Hall in Stanley. It doesn't actually have a time on, sorry.
It'll be the same time as this one.
Big time.
Of course, don't forget we've got the town council meeting, the public meeting
Yeah.
on the
27.
22nd.
27th.
Chicken o'clock or half past